We've been anticipating the executive order from President Biden for weeks, but that did not stop the crypto community from absolutely panicking when they found out apparently yesterday that it was actually going to be signed. But we're going to talk about the facts as usual. My new goal with the show is to bring on people who are in the know to give you the facts on situations so that we can skip all of the opinions and fake news that surround them. That person today is going to be Michael Fasanello. Also, very excitingly, supposedly, we have Sam Bankman-Fried joining to talk about the news that FTX is opening a European unit. And I also have fan favorite Big Cheds coming on the show to discuss charts. We are going big these days, folks. Let's go.
Let's go.
What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of Wall Streets. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and take your favorite shib of a mitt and just give the guy a high five. Don't even hit the like button. Just give your mitt a high five. You don't need to like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. If you like it, show a little love. Go ahead and like it. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day today. A lot going on in crypto. We're back to that endless news cycle type of thing where every single day it's a new curveball thrown directly in and around our faces, and we're just basically dodging them, right? We're dodging them, right? So much going on in the crypto space. How are you guys all doing today? As I said, we have 3 guests today. I'm hoping that Sam said he's going to come. Sam Bankman-Fried. Last time he had some technical issues, so we'll hope that we'll get that all sorted out today to talk about what's going on with FTX. On Thursday, actually, upcoming, I've been doing these roundtables. I don't know if he'll be back. Brett Harrison from FTX, CEO of FTX US, will definitely be there. We have Steven Stomberg from Bittrex, Richard Byworth from excuse me, from Diginex. He'll be joining as well, so we can get a bunch of CEOs of crypto exchanges, and we're going to have a massive conversation there, of course, on Thursday. Not playing around. Not playing around here. Not playing around. So, guys, I want to start digging in right now, and then I'm going to bring on our first guest in just a few minutes. First thing here, of course, we always like to take a quick view at what's happening in the market. Bitcoin stays above 38K, while nickel surges to 101K in surprise run. What is going on in the markets right now? If you're taking a look at commodities and all these other assets, it's absolutely a circus and a roller coaster. A circus and a roller coaster. If you guys haven't seen this, here you go. Chinese tycoon behind big nickel short faces billions in losses. We've seen this in markets. Mike McGlone came on yesterday from Bloomberg and said in his 35 years, I believe, almost 40 years in the trading pits and going through every single event we've had in markets in that time, this right now is the most worrisome for him, and the price action and nonsense that we're seeing. And of course, the fear of Putin is the worst that he's seen as of yet. And when you start seeing commodities going absolutely nuts like this, you know that the markets are fundamentally broken and that it's time to start paying attention. But this is a massive short. And what Mike McGlone said yesterday is these are the conditions where he's seen in the past. Unfortunately, traders lose their entire fortunes overnight, committing suicide, depression, all those crazy things. That's not the suicide part, but that's what's happening here. This is a massive short squeeze. This guy had a massive short on nickel and losing billions of dollars. Take a look very quickly. That's what the nickel chart looks like right now. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Beginning of the week was trading at 2333, now trading over 4200. Of course, we showed you what oil is doing, continuing up, and wheat. This is not a healthy market at all. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this right now. We mentioned it yesterday. Crypto exchange FTX sets up European unit. And of course, can we get you in that same pose? You're actually on the same angle. Almost perfect. Almost perfect. What's up? So everybody, obviously, Sam Bankman-Fried needs no introduction. And thank you for coming on once again. So listen, we've talked at length, seemingly countless times, about the challenges of operating in different jurisdictions, certainly of operating in the United States, going state to state for regulation. It seems like in Europe, you have a little more freedom, but are still now going to set up shop there in a different manner. Can you talk about why you're doing it in this way?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working, for the last, year or so on getting, licensed and regulated globally, including in Europe. And I mean, mostly just super excited, to be able to roll this out and, to be able to roll out the products the way that, I think mostly the way that they have been, with some tweaks, but nothing too major, in a licensed and regulated manner. And we think it's going to be really helpful on a number of fronts there.
So, what are the challenges that are unique to Europe that you don't have elsewhere?
Yeah, so I think one of the interesting things is, and this may change over the next year or two, but at least as of today, there isn't a clear single regulatory framework for Europe, and many jurisdictions don't have much of a regulatory framework at all for digital assets, but those that do, it's mostly sort of like unique to that jurisdiction, and so you have sort of like licensing for Switzerland, you have licensing for Germany, you have licensing for France, but there isn't sort of like the overall single crypto license that you can sort of use all throughout Europe. And so I think that's been one of the bigger sort of challenges has been figuring out, how do we how do we deal with that fact that there's that like there are a lot of countries in Europe, and they each have their
Yeah.
own setup.
Right. So you're doing this sort of blanket European, but are you going to have different offerings in different countries depending on their regulation or what they're allowed? I mean, is it going to be different coins, different levels of leverage? The NFT products you've talked about, or is it going to be one sort of blanket product?
It's mostly going to be one product, and there are going to be some changes from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Like I don't want to sort of say that it's exactly the same everywhere, but I actually do think it sort of is substantially similar, and that it is going to look much the same from place to place, which is something I think we're really excited about because it's always a pain when you have totally different frameworks everywhere that you look, both from sort of our side, keeping track of everything from the user side, from having a coherent offering. But there are going to be some changes from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. A lot of them are also going to be things where we have to get different licenses in each jurisdiction, and so what we really have is sort of a wide array of licenses cobbled together.
Yeah, I think I made the joke once that you must have more lawyers than any human being on the planet. I don't know how you can approach each of these jurisdictions.
It's a lot.
I mean, it seems absolutely nuts. So, so for people in Europe, is this going to be a part of FTX official, or is this sort of another branch off like FTX US? What's this corporate structure for actually setting this up?
So there are a bunch of entities involved, but one of the nice things is I think it's going to be able to be better thought of as a sort of part and growth on FTX official on sort of the standard global FTX exchange rather than having to be a completely sort of independent unit with no relationship to what we've built everywhere else.
So Europe's easier than the United States still.
It is in that sense, although it's also the case that like it's still pending to get like a single comprehensive framework there, and I do think that we expect to see some more of that over the next year.
Perfect. I have one question here that I'm going to let you go because it's on the screen and now I feel compelled to read it. How does SBF view the broader macro impacting crypto in general in the next month or quarter? How is he playing his cards? I know you can't tell us specifically how you're playing your cards, but I guess any just general context on the absolute mayhem that is markets right now.
Oh yeah, I mean it is absolute mayhem. I mean this is as messy as basically I've ever seen markets, and I mean I think high level like I think we're seeing a lot of bleeding. I think a lot of, I think we are seeing sort of like people starting to low key freak out in a lot of ways, not crypto specific, just sort of generally. And I don't think we've seen all of the bleed from that yet. I think that's still in its early days to some extent. And, that like a lot of people, I think probably have pretty large positions on. And aren't sure what to do about that right now. I think especially you look at the amount of money that's flowed in through hedge funds, through VC firms over the last couple of years. And, a lot of that, I think, are people who are still extremely long the market. Um, and have positions that are now substantially underwater. So it's going to be weird and interesting to see how that plays out. I think we're going to see some risk off moves. I think we've already obviously seen a lot of those.
Yeah, hopefully.
But it's a weird form of risk off, right? Because it's driven not by a combination of monetary policy and foreign policy. And so as much as we're seeing sort of worries about basically inflation tapering down, which would just hit basically all non-fiat assets equally. We're also seeing these massive divergence where commodities, especially those mined in Ukraine and Russia, are really going up a lot, right? You have like tech stocks going down a lot. I don't think it's obvious what's going to happen to crypto through this, right? Like, is crypto more like gold? Is it more like oil? Is it more like Facebook? Is it more like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, some combination of a lot of those. So I'm not sure exactly what this is going to mean for all crypto assets, but I do think that in general, we are going to start to see some of that risk off attitude trickle through the ecosystem. Although private markets, they're still raising. There's still more money flowing into VC firms.
In crypto, there's been seemingly at least, no halt to the amount of money pouring in.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're buying Bitcoin, but they're certainly
they're
trying
buying
to invest
something.
in the space. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think that brings up sort of one last interesting point, which I want to make, which is like, when you do see all these VC dollars flowing into like crypto companies, right? Like the sort of like, equity in of companies in crypto, where does that money end up, right? Does that money end up flowing into the tokens eventually? Does it end up flowing into Bitcoin? Does it end up flowing into altcoins? Does it end up flowing into advertising, into hiring, to salaries? Like where, I don't know the answer to all of that, but I think that's one interesting thing that we're going to see is what some of the cash that people have been raising over the last couple of years actually ends up being deployed in.
Well, they're not buying nickel.
Nope, that's for sure.
Not today. And so, Sam, just to give a very quick timeline for the European structure, when is that going to all be in place and launched?
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be some parts, rolling out over time. But the core of it was launched yesterday and actually is already live. And so if you are, it's the same website, ftx.com. If you go there, if you are in Europe, in UKYC, you'll be trading through FTX Europe. There will be some tweaks to it, but overall, it should be a pretty familiar experience. And it's also, as part of this, we've started turning back on SEPA rails for Euro, which is super exciting.
Awesome. Sam, thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time
you.
and popping in. Always an absolute pleasure. And I think all of us are always cheerleading you guys from behind and hoping that you can accomplish all of these things that you're trying. Love to see it, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So obviously the next story is the big story of the day, seemingly, although it's kind of been the big story of the month and all of a sudden has come back around. Joe Biden to sign executive order on crypto this week. Report. Panic. No, everybody was panicking yesterday as if this was not new news, even though even only a few weeks ago, each week we've punted it back. Next week, we're going to get the executive order next week. As I sort of alluded to on Twitter, I guess there's the natural panic that human beings feel when they see something like this. To me, that is a broke mentality, right? Oh my God, the president is going to sign an order on crypto. We're doomed. To me, the president of the United States is talking about crypto and it's big enough to be on his radar and he has to talk about it. If you had put that on my bingo card for 2022, I would have told you that you were absolutely nuts and I was going to lose that game. It's kind of like being on American Idol, right? And you're sitting on your couch and like, I'm going to go try out. I'm going to be one of those million people. And you make it through and you keep going, you get all the way to the finals. And then you go, crap, what if I lose? You've already made it, right? You've already made it. Well, to talk about what's actually happening with this executive order, I have a very special guest today, Michael Fasanello from Blockchain Intelligence Group. I'm going to take this off. Hey, Michael, how are you, man?
Hey, good morning, Scott. It's great to be with the Wolf. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, absolutely my pleasure. And I've been seeing you obviously quoted all over the place with my friends Blockworks, and I love your takes on this. So listen, as I kind of let the cat out of the bag there. Clearly, this is something we've been expecting, right? It's not new news as of yesterday that we were getting an executive order on crypto this week. But what are your thoughts on it in general and what we can expect?
So, you're right about it being long expected. In fact, we thought this was going to come out in the fall of last year, October, November. This was supposed to come out. Then it was punted back a little bit, like you said, and then it seems like things just keep getting in the way. And as of latest, of course, Russia, Ukraine, 2 weeks ago, this was supposed to come out, and then Russia decided to invade Ukraine, and chaos ensues. And the fear and uncertainty and doubt that you're talking about is all over the place. But I think exactly what you started out with, at this segment, which is the fact that the president of the United States is now going out there to make a move in crypto. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been wanting to see. And, even if it doesn't turn out exactly the way we'd like it to, the fact that it's now at the forefront of the White House's, docket, I mean, that means that this thing is going mainstream. It is going to be a part of traditional finance in the future. It is not just something that's going to go off into obscurity. It is well beyond that. Too many people are invested in it. Too many entities are invested in it at very, very high levels. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, if at all.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think when you have 10, 20, 30 billionaires and the biggest funds in the world gaining exposure, they probably make a call to their friend in government and say, hey, listen, is this thing I'm about to put $20 billion in going to get banned? Right. Exactly. So a ban is off the table, right? I mean, This is not going to be a crypto ban. There's not China or India where we go back and forth.
Yeah, and I've posited several thoughts over the last couple of weeks and even a couple of months. So first and foremost is my favorite. It's the one that I really love to see happen, but it probably has less of a chance now than it has in previous weeks and months. I wanted to see a unified whole of government approach that's actually led by, pun intended, with the Russian thing, a crypto czar. I'd like to see somebody like Gary Gensler actually be removed from the SEC, which limits his capabilities under the jurisdiction of that agency, and put into a position where he can really use the wide variety of skills and experience and knowledge that he actually brings to the table. I mean, arguably, the man is a genius when it comes to blockchain and crypto and digital assets and all that. So give him a position where he can actually leverage all of that properly, as opposed to pigeonholing him into an agency where, all he can really do right now is regulate by enforcement, and it's been killing people. So I'd like to see that happen. Short of that, of course, we know what executive orders, they are reviewed by legal, whereas executive actions are not. So that's an important disparity to make their distinguishing characteristic. So arguably some people with some, pretty good thinking caps have been taking a look at this before it comes out. I'd like to see them sort of unify the approach. It could go into one of two different ways. We've heard a lot about them doing studies over the course of 6 months or 12 months. I'd also like to see something in there, along the lines of actually collaborating with these different agencies. I mean, as we know, crypto is about as fluid as water, as, wherever it's pushed, it's going to go. So we've got, crypto could be a currency, it could be a security, it could be a commodity, depending on all the different use cases out there and, what people are doing with it. So I don't think any one agency is the right agency to actually guide this, regulatory approach and the building of the regulatory structure. I think what we should be seeing is, and as even like Sam Bankman-Fried, he's been amazing on the Hill, and also Brian Brooks and a host of others that I watch. They've been doing some really great education on the Hill. So I think the congressmen and congresswomen are actually understanding this a lot better, maybe more than they'd even like. But yeah, I'd love to see a unification of the agencies. CFTC, SEC, IRS, FinCEN, all those alphabet soup agencies out there. Of course, the intelligence community, we've seen the great work they've been doing as far as tracking down illicit activity with blockchain analytics. So it's just, I can't wait to see what comes out today. But I do know that it's not going to be something that's going to absolutely, scare the crap out of people. So I'd like them to, keep their wits.
Right. There's a famous quote, obviously, that markets hate uncertainty, right? And then along the same lines, there's the idea that, and another famous quote, not to give it exactly, but that markets prefer negative certainty to uncertainty, right?
And there's another quote,
we just want clarity. Go ahead.
And that other famous quote, of course, the best time to buy is when there's blood in the streets, right? So quite frankly, all this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, take advantage of it. I mean, I'm not a financial expert, it's not a financial guidance, but hey, I always like a good fire sale if I can get one.
I always joke that, people will buy like 3-day-old moldy bread because it's 25% off, but it comes to buying their favorite company or buying Bitcoin, and they panic when it's a 50% off sale, which I think is how seasoned investors probably view it. So to be clear, it looks like the fear is that which is completely unfounded, is that there's going to be an executive order where he's going to come down with some heavy-handed comment about crypto that's going to destroy the market, and we have to panic. The reality, it seems like, from insiders, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that he's basically saying, get your shit together, regulators, figure this out, report to me by the end of the year, let's get some clarity, and let's regulate this appropriately. And then, of course, also talk about central bank digital currencies, and now we're going to hear about how it could be a threat to national security, of course.
We know that nothing's ever official in DC unless there's a committee about a committee about a committee. Here's your committee about the committee about the committee. So,
yeah. So is it your feeling? You talked about having, I guess we would call it a crypto czar. Maybe that would be Gensler or someone else. Is your feeling that that's the direction this will probably end up? I mean, it's very clear that none of these agencies individually can handle this, or even not only can they not handle it, they don't even know which part of it they're supposed to handle.
Correct.
Right.
And I think based on that, it's probably going to be a heavily study engagement. They're going to want to go out there and have reports coming back to the White House. They're going to take some time. I mean, this is going to take 6 months, 12 months, maybe even over a year for something to finally come to fruition from it. But I think that there's definitely going to be a unification of the approach. You're going to see the ship sailing in the same direction, hopefully from this point forward. And it's going to be more of an education exercise for the executive branch, and hopefully for the Congress as well, while the agencies collaborate on these studies and the effects.
I want to bring
effects that it has on domestic and foreign markets as well. That's also probably going to be in there.
Absolutely. So the New York Post. That's my caveat. It's the New York Post, but they wrote an article about this, which, as my wife Emmy posted on Twitter, they seem to try to make it about the war when obviously this executive order was around long before. But there's one quote that I highlighted in here that I think is the most important part. Implicit in the order will be that cryptocurrency will remain a part of the U.S. economy for years to come. The White House's plans to move forward with the executive order were first reported by Bloomberg News. Isn't that really? I mean, we touched on it, but isn't that the key? They're saying this isn't going anywhere.
If you look at the other signals coming out yesterday, FinCEN released an advisory on how, granted, I take a different approach than a lot of the other subject matter experts in the field. I take a little bit of a different approach than FinCEN. A lot of the subject matter experts have been saying crypto can't be used, for Putin to, wash his money and transport assets and stuff like that. Listen, if the Ukrainians can use it to crowdfund a war and a defense in this war, Putin can certainly use it, and his cronies can certainly use it to their advantage as well. That's the beauty of this technology. It's not going to be one-sided like that.
Any technology, that's what everybody misses. It's not.
Yeah.
I've said this before. It's like saying that there's fake news on the internet. Let's ban the internet.
Exactly.
No, you deal with the fake news and the proprietors of that fake news. You don't ban the technology. It's so stupid.
but everybody saw the FinCEN release yesterday as a negative. I saw it as a positive because they're acknowledging that in fact it could be used by Putin to further these nefarious activities. They go and say it can't be done at scale and this and that. And that's arguably true. To move a large amount of money in a small amount of time in this particular ecosystem is probably not plausible. But it can certainly be done over a large amount of time and in different types of transaction structures and things like that. So that's where I differ from other subject matter experts on it. But I love seeing the FinCEN order because it brings greater legitimacy. The executive branch wanting to go out there and do this executive order brings credibility and legitimacy to the technology and to the utility and the markets. FinCEN going out there and saying, it could be used, for nefarious activity by Putin and the Russians. So watch out for the red flags. That, it sounds so negative to most people, but to me, being in regulation and being in, the financial compliance sector for a very long time, these are all hallmarks of things that are solidifying this marketplace for the future.
Absolutely agree. So bottom line is that there's nothing to fear here, particularly unless there's a massively huge surprise, and that getting any clarity, regardless of what that clarity is probably a good thing. Michael, where can everybody follow you after this? I know you're on Twitter. We tagged you there for anybody who saw it in the tweet, and keep up with what the Blockchain Intelligence Group is doing.
Yeah, Blockchain Intelligence Group, www.blockchaingroup.io, and also on Twitter, Blockchain Mike, and the O in blockchain is, of course, a 0.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
And now, guys, because we need to talk charts, right? Everybody wants to hear what's going on with Bitcoin. I'm bringing on favorite friend of the show. We seem to go back and forth a lot, but literally everyone's favorite person that we can even add here. Of course, Big Cheds. What's up, Cheds? How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I really enjoyed that discussion. So thank you for having that guest on.
Were you panicking? Were you worried about Biden?
I stay panicked, so I don't know anything other than panic. And I wouldn't know if I'm not panicking. It's my natural state. So
you're like the least panicked person I know.
Well, that's because I'm alive and like I've already made it, so.
Yeah. For anyone, people might not know the context of that, but I'll just tell them to read your book and look up your backstory, of course.
Thank you.
What are you thinking today as far as the markets? Personally, I'm thinking that 39,600 is a wall of pain, or 400, you call it whatever, and then of course 45,500 is an even bigger wall of pain.
So we and again, thanks for having me. And we talked maybe last week. I don't think it's really changed that much. I would maintain we're in a risk-off environment as long as we're below 40K, called it 39.5. I think anytime you have a level that's that close to a key horizontal, I think it's easier to structure your trade based on 40K. 39.5, those are some wicks right there, but it's clean and easy. We're above 40K. I can feel confident I can be bullish again. So I'm ready to go long if we break above 40K, but I'm just risk off below 40K. We're in an environment where resistance is really well defined. We clearly have the 46K level. You called it 45.5. We're agreeing on that. Yeah. Clearly the lows, of an attempted bottoming and where the price is rejected here multiple times. So we have really well marked out, and I'll just point to it, really well marked out resistance and really well marked out resistance. But where's support? Is it the February 24th low? Is it the January 24th low? Is it, the weekly lower Bollinger? It's not well defined. So I think when you're in this environment, you want to wait. You want to wait for a clear signal. As traders, we need volatility, Scott. So, if I'm looking to go long, I would like to see, rather than some type of a slow kind of bleed, I'd like to see a flash dip. It's kind of big flash dip with some volatility, maybe breaking a low and recapturing it. So I'm kind of looking for that, Until then, I'm sitting back and waiting. We have such an uncertain kind of a macro environment that, it's in these moments when we're kind of tempted to trade that I think we lose the most money. We want to, we want to trade, we want to jump in, but without a clear signal, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So I just suggest people wait till we're back above 40K. Or a super duper flash dip, and then we kind of recover one of these lows and maybe structure your trade that way.
Dude, looking at that chart, just looking at, now I got to go back on mine so I can see it clear, but going back, I basically throughout this entire year, that is just death for traders. Look at that. It's basically inverse Bart, inverse Bart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's called ranging, but between basically 45 and 33, 35 or something, we've just had whipsaw price action with key levels that you would expect to hold just being butter both ways, right? Like the 50 MA on the daily, we just broke clean above it when the war started and passed right back through it like it was nothing on the way back down.
Well, let's discuss that a little bit. We've been in a corrective environment since we topped off back in November. We've talked about this at length, the double top, with the up thrust, we had the outside bar. And when you're in that environment, what you do is you do those kind of lower Bollinger to moving average, bounces, those relief rallies. And you're always kind of watching, where does the relief rally stall, right? And I'll clean it up a little bit. So we've been watching that. You said MA 50, and it's glad you pointed it out. EMA 34 rejection. EMA 34 rejection finally grabbed the EMA 34, grabbed the 50, right? The orange line. But you know what? Just wait for that horizontal. We couldn't break up above that lows. So yeah, we grabbed the 50, and that was a bull trap because people jumped in. They said, yeah, I'm ready to go long. We're on the 50. You reject, and then you throw back, you retest that 50, but now it's lower. You keep, throwing back to those moving averages. You just wait for that clear level to flip. And you're right. We've been chopped up. It's given people an opportunity to lose their money. It's given people an opportunity to, all the best traders, everybody's losing money in this market unless you're, probably doing nothing or taking the easiest trade, which is to short when it bounces to key resistance. And a lot of people don't want to short. They're against it. They're Bitcoin maxis. I get that, but you have to go with the trend, and we're in a downtrend. So you want to short the bounces in a downtrend. And until we break 46, it's a downtrend. You short the bounces.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you short it again if it hits 46 again?
Of
How
course.
many times does it? You do, because you've already done it 3 times. You're profitable, and if you do it until it doesn't work, right?
Exactly right. Exactly
if it ain't
right.
broke, don't try to fix it.
That's right. I can't fix stuff anyway, so I can break it. But yeah. I mean, until it's the rule of thumb is something is resistance or support until proven otherwise. It's until proven otherwise, it's resistance. And yeah, there's other schools of thought that come into play. If you keep testing it, it's more likely to break. Right. So classical charting says the more times we test it, the more likely it is to break. And furthermore, the more times you test it, the more significance of that break. That's more significance that break might have. So you really got to watch that level. 40K, obviously, January highs, February lows, top of the rectangle. We've gone over this a million times. So we know these levels are really important. I think, and I did this a little bit on Bitcoin Live Sunday, I think you have to be ready for lower targets. And I think there's not an MA20 on this one. I'll go here, MA200 and... Well, one of these, there we go. So I think you have to be ready to, we've been lulled into comfort here where we're kind of moving in this relatively narrow range for Bitcoin. I think we have to be ready in case crazy things happen, things you or I maybe couldn't predict. So you want to be ready for things you can't predict. What that means is you want to identify levels in the chart. You want to play any kind of sweep of these lows of 30K. 30K breaks, we get panic dips. You want to play the 20K retest. 20K fails, you want to play the kind of 13, 14K right there. You want to be ready, and when it's so hard to buy and everyone else is freaking out, you want to be a little bit less freaked out because you prepared. You've kind of understood that we actually, in this environment, have a legitimate chance to touch and tag these lower levels, especially if we break 30K, Scott. What do you think?
I think it's possible. I mean, listen, I like on December 5th, people, on December 5th, right after the huge drop when we lost the 50s and went all the way down to 42, I kind of said, listen, if we get back above 53, then we can start talking. But if we lose 42, which we have, then 28 becomes in play. And then listen, if you can say 28's in play, you got to be able to say, listen, 20, I don't think it's happening, by the way.
You don't.
But like you said, just for having an open mind, 20 was the biggest resistance in the existence of the Bitcoin chart and has never been retested as support. I don't think it happens, but it was the resistance for literally years.
I'll make an argument though. I think we have to look at a couple things. I think we have to look at the fact that 30K has been tested. So I think we both agree that if you say 28K, I think we both agree 38K can break. So we'll kind of agree on that. But I think if you look at the price acceleration from December to what is that, January, in a couple of weeks, it shot 20 to 30K really quickly. You didn't really pause. There's not a lot of price structure in here. Nothing. That doesn't give you any support. So I maintain if you break 30K and you essentially don't immediately recapture it, it's like an 80%.
You're going to 20.
Yeah. But if you're going to 20, you can break 20. If you're testing 20, you can test it. And look, there's not a lot of price action at 20 anyway either. So you can fall here below 30, pick up acceleration, and really the price will gravitate towards demand, towards support, 11, 12, 13, 14K. For a mega rip, for a mega bounce, you got to shake people's conviction. We've been around long enough. We know the best runs come after everyone gives up. Everyone's liquidated. Everyone's like, screw this. I'm going back to Wendy's. 13, 14K, you would get a lot of people saying it's over, it's over, it's over. And then you rip from there.
I think we could also get it's over even higher than that. But yes, I agree.
Yeah.
First of all, okay, I got to stop you right now because I happen to be watching the chat right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell everyone, Cheds is married.
Yep.
You have women over here saying they want to marry you, but also marry Michael Saylor. And the people who are saying that they want to marry you and Michael Saylor, also, I happen to know, are married.
Well, listen, I'm polyamorous. I mean, we can. Don't tell my wife. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, we spread the love. That's what we do here. That's why we're doing this. We're just two dudes living our life the best we can. We're spreading the love. So I appreciate it. All right. I don't know what to say, right?
I can't. I'm listening to you and it's like, oh, depression 20K. Oh, is Ched's married? Oh, depression 20K. I'd marry Ched's.
That is
Oh,
funny.
and if Ched isn't available, I guess I'll settle for Michael Saylor. He has a nice
I'm not as good
Ched.
looking I'm not as good as looking as you though. That's why I wear the mask.
You don't know, but you keep the mystery, and that's what matters,
right.
man.
Hell yeah.
You got to just keep the mystery up. So, any other thoughts on what's happening with the market? I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think that I really don't want to lose that 30-28.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope we don't even. Honestly, I hope we. Of course, I just hope we kind of go up from here and don't even talk about it, right? But it's definitely that looks less likely. And now 45 is a strong line in the sand. But what happened if we break clean above 46? What do you think?
58K. 80%. 80%. We had 56K. We pause at 53K, reject, and then we put in a higher low, right? I think that's what we would do. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but that would just make most sense to me, given the price structure. I think you got to be agile. I think, look, I said earlier, we want volatility. So I would be almost all cash here, other than your hodl, and I would be looking for like a really crazy move. Bitcoin will do it. Even the people who've been around, it will move, and then it will move more than you would anticipate. I've never seen that. But we want that because you need volume. A chart needs volume at the top and the bottom. When the chart is trending, you don't need volume. There's an imbalance in the supply-demand equilibrium. We understand that. We want a big flush. We want volume. We need to shake people, and then we can run. Eventually, the dust will settle, and there will be a risk on appetite. But given what's going on in the macro, like who knows? So the one thing
there's not much reason unless you just it's pure. I mean, there's not much reason to believe that any market is going to rip up at this moment.
It won't, but I'd say if you any trade idea, you need to be ready very quickly to say this failed and I'm out. So don't marry in talking about getting married, right? And being married, don't marry any trade idea right now. Try it, but then boom, okay, couple 3, 4, 5%, I'm out. Like, don't stick to your bad ideas, especially right now in this kind of non-trending market. That's what I would say.
I love it. Awesome. Cheds, thank you so much for joining. Guys, okay, we always do this, but follow at Big Cheds on Twitter and read his book. Also, check out his YouTube. You got it, right? Yeah, there's the book. Read the book. Follow him on YouTube. The whole thing.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it,
one
folks.
of my favorite people here, obviously. Cheds, thank you so much. And now I have to go look at myself once.
See ya.
Guys, pretty epic. So I'm watching this chat. You guys are bananas. You guys probably might not know this, but like Emmy she's a really good matchmaker. Emmy is like, she's over here. She's trying to get people married to one another and stuff. I see it happening. And that's what she does. She's like the greatest wingman. My friends love back in the day when they were single, they would take out Emmy because she'd just go talk to girls for them. You can see her doing that right now. So we're going to keep going on here with the news. Bain Capital launches 560 million crypto fund. That's a lot of monies. 155 billion investment giant. Guys, this is Bain Capital, not the guy from Batman. Not that Bain. Bain Capital Ventures. 155 billion investment giant will focus on DeFi and Web3 and isn't afraid to get its hands dirty with liquid tokens. Do you ever just want to stick your hand deep in the liquid tokens and just see what it feels like? What a weird fucking headline. Really, that's weird. Kind of creepy, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Bain Capital is one of the biggest investment firms in the world, guys. This is as Wall Street and Wall Street. That was me putting on a tie and a shirt. This is as stuffy Wall Street, big money as you possibly get. And here they are. $560 million into crypto. Seemingly the people with all the big money, not that afraid to get it into crypto right now. Even as SBF said earlier, for those of you who missed that, rewind. He was here. But as SBF said, there's a ton of money still flowing. That faucet has not closed at all. It's going to be interested to see where it goes. But getting their hands dirty with liquid tokens, I mean, that means Bain Capital sitting here saying, maybe I'll buy some Doge. See if we can get that going on. Heard good things about this new SHIB. Good things about this new thing SHIB. Right? So no, I'm not saying they're going to actually look at these guys. This is who we're talking about here. Bain Capital Investments. I'm going to see if my pointer's working today, isn't it? Nope. My pointer still is about 6 inches. Guys, have you not told me the entire time that I've been doing these streams that my arrow is not pointing at what I'm talking about on the charts? Is that a thing? Because right now I'm pointing. See, you see it on this little guy's head, right? I see it on the bald guy next to his head. I'm circling a completely different head right now. Wow. That makes me think that every time I've been charting, you guys have not been seeing what I'm doing, and I don't know how to figure that out at the moment. Super, super whack. Super whack. Estonia calls. See, look, I see it on the F. I'm on the S. Weird. Estonia calls to restrict crypto amid fears of Russian sanctions evasion. Stop. Prime Minister of Estonia, Kaja Kallas. I just read that real fast so you wouldn't hear that I don't know how to pronounce things. Has warned about the role of cryptocurrencies in allowing sanctions, right? Not great. Here's what I said. Our focus must be on full isolation of Russia from the free world. Kallas reportedly told the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken earlier today. Kallas also reportedly said all Russian and Belarusian banks must be removed from the SWIFT payment system, and cryptocurrency should be restricted to close possible sanction loopholes. There's no loopholes. We've been over this. It's just fear. It's FUD, but we'll see what the executive order has to say about that. Here's a cool story. Ukrainian boxer Vladimir Klichko releases NFT collection to support relief effort. Yeah, you guys probably know who he is, of course, but his brother Vitaly Klitschko is actually the mayor of Kiev, and both of them have gone to the front lines to fight. These guys are professional athletes, boxers. They could sit back in their nice penthouses and watch it happen. Nope, they've thrown on their gear, gone to the front lines to fight for Ukraine. And to be quite frank, if I'm a Russian, I don't want to see these two guys on the opposite side. I'm coming this way, they're going this way, I'm going that way. It's not happening. But yeah, using NFTs, once again, crypto being used for good, believe it or not. Talking about the sanctions, let's talk about the fact that now I think it's about $60 million. $60 million or so have been donated. But here you go. Proceeds from the collection will be donated to Red Cross Ukraine and UNICEF. The collection titled Vandals for Ukraine, I literally don't even, Wisby and Vladimir Klitschko, was made in partnership with artist Wisby. There you go. And will be available to mint in a tiered pricing model for $100,000 and $10,000. Pretty actually awesome, I would say. And finally, Unstoppable Domains giving away 10 million in domains to support women in Web3. Unstoppable Domains. I got my Unstoppable domain literally like right when they started. Their censorship proof. You'll be able to use it as an address for sending and receiving crypto. If you guys aren't familiar, very similar to ENS, which you guys have probably seen. But this is really cool. Giving away $10 million worth of domains to support women in Web3. Let's see what they had to say about it here. Unstoppable Domains, as part of a continued effort to support women in the crypto and NFT spaces, is setting aside 10 million in Web3 domain names for its Unstoppable Women of Web3 initiative. Unstoppable. More than 60 prominent Web2 and Web3 companies have signed a pledge to feature work created by historically marginalized groups in at least half of all materials for Web3 education, according to a statement from Unstoppable Domains. Always amazing to see the platforms that we love doing good and helping. And that's what crypto is all about. That's what the ethos is all about. That's why I'm so sick and tired of the FUD and the negative news and the nonsense, when you can just literally look around and see how much good crypto and the crypto community are actually doing for this world and this planet and this universe, and probably for aliens who don't even know about it yet. You heard it here first. Bitcoin is the currency of the alien worlds that we are yet to communicate with. Guys, tomorrow, you might not remember this, but we're doing Chartapalooza still on Wednesdays, but it's in the morning. We're Chartapaloozering at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. So I'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. And then Thursday is going to be that epic roundtable conversation that you guys have come to know and to love, with a whole bunch of legends. And then Friday, we'll be back with this format once again to tell you what is going to be happening on the weekend. Guys, we are working our asses off. Mike is working his ass off right now, producing what's happening right now. So I hope you are enjoying the new format and that it is pleasing to your eye holes and your ear holes. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Yo, self.
That's dope.
I'm still here. Bye.